What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com, and I am absolutely delighted to be joined today by Frans Mlambo before his big fight at the upcoming PFL Europe card. Frans, we've spoke before. It's always fun to speak to you, and whenever I speak to you, I feel like I'm always like more looking forward to your fight than anyone else's fight in the card. I don't know. That's just the way the kind of cookie crumbles. I did my top 5 fights for the month, and your fight was the fight from PFL Europe that I was looking forward to. I assume you're looking forward to it as well. It's going to be a good one, isn't
it? Yeah. That just could mean I'm a shit talker. I just I get you excited before we get there.
No, I think it's the style, honestly, and like. His style is pretty good too, and we'll talk more about him later on. But it's working out to be a pretty good fight. But I want to ask you about PFL. Like, what was the decision, I suppose, to go to PFL? I know there was plenty more suitors out there. Maybe we'll talk a bit about them in a second. But to actually sign and go to PFL, and that card that's coming up looks absolutely unbelievable. What was your decision, though?
It was just the offer on the table, man. You know what I mean? Like, just looking at, you know what I mean, the opportunities that. Like everything I had to choose from, like the opportunities they individually had for me, you know what I'm saying? And hands down, the PFL had the best options, and I chose to go that. Them options being that obviously the $1 million tournament next year, and then because the consistency in fights as well. Obviously, my first event with them is part of this tournament, you know what I mean? And obviously continuing with it. But all that just kind of sold me towards the PFL. There's obviously more to it, like, but they're the main ones for me. The opportunity to make so much money so quickly, and then the fact that as well that you're kept active like throughout the year, you know. So that's perfect for me. That's what I've been looking for. And now that I have it, I have to, I have to make sure I make the best of it.
The part about being active for you, I think, is very interesting, because I was looking at your record there, and, you know, obviously you had a bit of time off, which we can speak about in a second, but, you know, I was kind of thinking, maybe the pandemic played into it, but you had, 6 fights in 2020, 2021, which, you know, obviously when you're in Comabte, you get a lot of fights, but still that's an awful lot, and then the break came. But you won 5 of those fights in a row, obviously last fight after the Bandejas one. Do you, like, there's some people, I remember Artem back in the day was the same, even Conor, like when they get fight after fight after fight, they just, something clicks for them and they get better and better and better with each fight. Do you feel like you're a little bit that way too?
No, but the thing is, like, I've said that from my amateur career, that's what I've wanted, because I know that's how, like, I operate, you know what I mean? The more, like during my boxing career and stuff like that, the more active you are, you just are better. That's just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, I actually really haven't had that in my pro career. You know what I'm saying? Like Brave, when I started off with Brave and stuff, they were like, yeah, we'll give you loads of fights. You know what I mean? Just keep walking them out. And they kept me on the shelf as well. And then Bellator done the same thing. And then Comabte done the same thing. And everybody so far haven't kept their word and keep me active. And with the PFL now, it's there is no choice but be active. You know what I mean? You just have to keep winning, obviously. But I feel like I've finally now gotten to a place where I want to be with my activity. You know what I'm saying?
Tell us about that Comabte run, because you went on a great run there. Like you beat everyone, and it felt like you were going to beat everyone else as well. And then it kind of just stopped up, and you're supposed to have that big fight, and it never happened. What was the situation there? Now, this is my opinion, but like, it feels like everyone Irish that's gone over there, they're almost sitting them in to lose, and when they don't lose, they kind of panic and like, oh, what's going on there? What way did you feel? What way did you feel with Comabte?
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that is. But sorry. Yeah, no. But with Comabte Global, like I was only with. I literally only had one event with them. Like all them fights I had with them, that was just in the one night. You know what I mean? Because that was that tournament that I got there as well. So, like, I mean, that was just the one event with them. And then obviously the next fight was supposed to be for the title straight after winning that. But what had happened was that I got injured like a while before the fight. We called that off. Then I recovered pretty quickly, and I was like, right, we're ready to go. And then we set the next fight. And then they were like, no, he's at the getting injured, but he got injured like doing a kickboxing tournament or something like that. I was like, well, that's mad. Why are you letting him do that in the first place? 5 weeks out of a fight, doing a whole other thing. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense competing in a whole other sport 5 weeks outside of a fight, like another, like, you know, he's kickboxing. Do you know what I'm saying? So since he got injured doing that, they kept telling me, oh no, you got injured as well the first time, so you're just gonna have to wait. I was like, you're right, that's fair enough, but I don't necessarily have to fight him. Just give me another fight in between that. Do you know what I'm saying? Because this is my living after all. Like, you know what I mean? This is what I do for work. So if you don't give me this fight, then I'm left waiting. And so that didn't happen. And so then after that, I was just kind of looking to leave the place because they really weren't living up to their promises. Like, you know what I mean? At all. Like, even with the title, even with that trophy I got, you know what I mean? They were promising to get it over to me, and they didn't. But with that being said, they're known for not letting their fighters go. And I asked them to let me go. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, the management had a bit to do with that as well. But they ended up letting me go, which is, you know, fair play to them, because they could have just kept me there and just been stubborn with that. Like, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, good and bad, I suppose, with them guys. But, yeah, I was babbling on there a bit. I think I went beyond your question.
No, you're right though, because I feel like a lot of people were thinking, you know, you were almost out for 2 years after, you know, being in the middle of such a great run, and I think people probably wanted to know why that is, and I feel like you explained it pretty well there. But like,
it's never an option with me. Like, if you ever see me not fighting, it's not because of any decision I'm making. You know what I mean? I always, literally, every time, like, I need to actually go back and watch all my post-fight interviews, because I'm pretty sure every time I leave the cage, I'm asking for the next fight, and it's never been the case where, I mean, it's happened. And now, obviously, I'm having the fight there a few weeks ago in Berlin, and I'm already looking forward to another one now in a few more weeks. You know what I'm saying? Which is fantastic, man. It's perfect.
It must be like, what did you do for the 2 years while you were off? Like, was it all like preparation? I'm waiting for another fight. Was there always something, or were you kind of like
for the first maybe 6 months of that was like, yeah, just waiting around, because I was like, it's inevitable that I'll get something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Obviously, what I wanted after Comabte was the big leagues. You know what I'm saying? It was either the UFC or the PFL or whatever else. Like, you know what I'm saying? But obviously not Bellator, because they had, you know, or a pandemic or whatever, but they did me bad still. So I wasn't going to go back to them. But yeah, so the options I had was either the PFL and the UFC. But at the time, I wasn't getting any of these calls. You know what I'm saying? So I was literally just left on the shelf, man, for that whole time. I think it was 18 months or something I didn't fight after being on a 5-fight winning streak, which is madness. But yeah, we're past that now, innit?
Like, were you, I know, you know, you previously worked and you were doing a bit of cultivating and things like that. Were you back working at that stage, or like?
Yeah, man.
Were you? Yeah. And what was that like?
Yeah. Well, I had to.
Yeah.
I had to. There was no other income, bro. Yeah. I had to get back. Picking them weed. But listen. Like, I always try. Like, it always kind of sounds like I'm saying what I do is shit, but it isn't. Landscaping is what I was doing, or gardening, right? But I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Like, there was times where I felt like I done enough in my career to not have to do that. Do you know what I mean? To not have to do landscaping. But I love landscaping, man. Say if like next year, whatever, I win that million, I'll still be like doing landscaping on the side, because it's just something I enjoy doing. You know what I'm saying? So it was daily that I had that between that time. But at the same time, I was in a situation where I shouldn't have had to be in that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, I was
100%.
winning in what I was doing. My career was going good, but at the same time, I had nothing to show for that it was going good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like when you're, what are you, 9-1 in your last 10 or something like that, or 8 in the last 9?
I think last 10 I'm flipping, some shit like that. You're not too far off anyways.
Yeah.
But man, I've been on a streak now, so obviously, now I'm in the PFL, I'm in part of this tournament, that momentum is going, so I'm just going to keep it like that, man.
100%. Just before we move on to talk more about that, the situation with Bellator, I always found that wild. And like, there's a few guys around that time, like yourself, Kiefer, Will Fleury at the time as well. And funnily enough, you've all kind of fell on your feet over the last year or so. So maybe it wasn't the worst thing in the world. But what was the situation with you in Bellator? Because like, you had won some great fights. Look, you were beating Ricky Bandejas and ended up losing, but that can happen. Ricky's a very good fighter. Like, but other than that, you'd beaten everyone. What was the situation with you in Bellator?
Mate, it was just madness, like altogether. Even like I don't even want to talk about that fight anymore because I've talked about it so much. But it was crazy. Like, I had never been knocked out in my whole history of life. You know what I mean? And I've been I was sparring apart bleeding Conor for flipping years. He'd been trying to knock me out every bleeding single day, and bleeding boxing, doing all type like even to this day I'll be sparring like bigger lads than me, you know what I mean? And they've kicked me, they've hit me hard, and I've never been bleeding knocked out. Do you know what I mean? So for it to happen in a fight where I was absolutely dominating everywhere, and just for it to happen for the first time ever, it was just madness. Like I got stopped in Tokyo over strikes, but that wasn't because I was knocked out. That was just because I wasn't in a healthy mood. I wasn't in a healthy situation getting there, and then the whole thing, whatever. With that's understandable. That I just couldn't understand that how that fight ended up, and then obviously after that, I ended up getting cut. In they just didn't give me a new contract because that fight with
Corey Tate.
Yeah, that fight with Corey Tate was my last on my contract. But I just assumed, like everybody else, that since I'm 3 fights, 1 loss, bleeding, I was at the being ranked at the time, like, do you know what I mean? So I was like, they wouldn't get me on the rankings and then kick me out. Not kick me out and not give me a new contract. And that's just what happened, which was flipping mind blowing to me. And it just left me then just in no man's land. You know what I'm saying? Where I must have been getting built up in this bleeding organization, and then they just flip and let me drop. And then there was just nothing to catch me at the time. Obviously, it took some time, but we're here now. Like I said, it's history.
Indeed. Well, like to be fair now, I don't think you're the first one in Bellator, aren't you? Well, maybe you will be one of the last because I don't know how long they'll be keeping going. But yeah, it's a mad situation.
Yeah, they're bought now and stuff, innit? So the whole thing is, I think they're having the last show at the end of the year or something before the end of the year.
You mentioned Conor there and sparring with Conor, and one of the things that always comes up when we talk about you or your upcoming fights is like, Jesus, Frans is such a good striker. He was mimicking Floyd Mayweather before that fight. What has it been like down through the years sparring with Conor and even preparing for that Floyd Mayweather fight and being in the camp with him? It must have been a mad situation to be in.
Yeah, no, it was crazy being there. Like, but like when I started MMA, I started with SBG. Like, you know what I mean? I was sparring all the lads, like flipping all of them. Like, so I mean, they were there. Like, I started with SBG back in the Long Mile Road, and all the OGs there. I'm talking, Ash Blade and Chris Fields. You know what I mean? Paddy Hula, like the proper OGs out there. Even Quealy and stuff like that. We're back there bleeding. Roddy. You know what I mean? So I started back then, like, and as soon as I got into the gym, I was thrown in there with all them lads because I was a striker. You know what I mean? And I was an all right striker as well. So when anybody needed striking, they'd come to me. Obviously, then Conor as well, and then continued on with the camps. But yeah, it was deadly. It was deadly, but. Yeah, that was deadly. I'll just say that. I was going to say other things, but I'll let them go.
Go on, say it. What? Like, were you shoulder rolling in camp and doing all the Philly shell and all?
Look, it is what it is, man.
were you doing that Philly shell and everything, mimicking Floyd coming in and, I
was talking shit and all, yeah? Because I remember in one of the sparrings, they were like, no, like, he's going to be talking, so try to mimic him as possible. And I was in there throwing shots, talking about, you ain't got nothing, you know what I mean? It was actually quite fun though, doing all that, but that wasn't the constant thing. But you know what I mean? I did watch a bit more of Floyd and tried to do the whole elusive thing that he does. I'm just different body type, different guy altogether. Obviously, you can't mimic him. You know what I mean? 100%, but I did my best, man.
100%. Come here, let's talk about the PFL run. Your last fight, obviously we talked about like all the background and the couple of years out and all, but to get back and to have that fight a couple of weeks ago, it must have been great. Like, your opponent did miss weight and it was a bit of an odd fight and you nearly had him out of there. I suppose, how do you reflect on that week getting back there? Like, did you feel a bit of ring rust? How do you feel now coming out, I suppose, a few weeks after it?
Mate, I felt my whole training, everything up fight week, everything was just absolutely perfect, yeah? It felt great, man, yeah? But then when the fight started, man, I felt deadly in the warm-ups and all. But then I was like, I don't know, I was feeling real heavy and stuff like that. And I put it to nothing else but ring rust. You know what I mean? I can't explain what it was because I felt so good before. But I just didn't, like, in the fight, during the fight, I didn't feel like I was able to do what I've been practicing the whole time. You know what I mean? I can only put it down to that, like, because it didn't make any sense how there's certain, like, I was throwing super shots, and then as soon as I'd throw them, I was like, what the hell did I just do there? You know what I mean? And then I'd be like, all right, I won't do that again. But just because of the whole moment or whatever, I just wasn't performing like I wanted to at the time. You know what I mean? I looked back at the fight. To be honest, it didn't look as shit as I felt like it did. You know what I mean? I felt way worse in it than it actually looked while I was looking back at it. But yeah, I think it was all down to that, man, because I panicked when that happened. So I got back and it was like working. I'm like, actually, no, I'm still flipping sharp. You know what I'm saying? I'm still sharp. Ring rust just must be a real thing. I don't understand it, but it happens from time to time. But since I'm just about to fight in such short succession, definitely won't be a problem this time. And I'm actually fighting a striker as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So we're flipping loving life, man. You know what I'm saying? I just can't wait for this in Paris as well. Francisco fighting France in France.
Beautiful. I love it.
Fireworks all together.
I can't wait. Just one thing on that last fight, right? I've always been fascinated by this, right? So you hit him really hard and like you almost got knocked out at one stage. Yeah. I look at that at home and your fight, any fight, it's like that happens. I'm like, oh, take your time. You know, be calm, finish him off. How tough is that when you get someone in that situation to actually be calm and not rush in and kind of fall over yourself? Is that something, obviously it's something you prepare for, but how tough is it in that moment? Like it's impossible to prepare for that moment nearly, but as someone who's been there a few times, what's it like?
It's mad because I hit him. Like, but the thing is, watching it looked so much quicker than I seen it in the moment. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I hit him. I seen him crumble. I was like, oh, he's done. But then he kind of just spring back onto me. But then I was ready to go, bro. And just before I unleashed the flipping hammer, I could see the ref just kind of with his arms open coming in my peripheral. So I just kind of stopped for a second because I thought the ref was going to come in and stop it. Yeah. But then by that time, the guy was already on my leg and he was already getting a takedown and the whole moment was gone. But I just think that's what it was. And for me, that was a mistake. That's something where, you know what I mean? I think I will take that moment onto the rest of my fights where instead of letting the ref, do you know what I mean? Instead of waiting for the ref to come in and stop it, I should have done that. You know what I mean? And it's a thing before. It's a thing I had. Even I remember, you know what I mean? I had a thing where I didn't want to hurt people. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm fighting for my life now, bro. Yeah, it's different altogether. I not necessarily want to hurt people, but at the same time, I need to make sure I do the best with the time I have left. Man, I'm 32 now. I ain't got enough time in this game. Maybe a few years or whatever, but still, I just gotta annihilate, man. I can't leave any spaces for doubts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just got to do the best I can, and I think them little moments won't continue to be a thing. You get what I'm saying?
100%. I suppose going forward in, like, the gym at the moment, it has an array of people, I suppose, around your weight class, like Brad Katona winning tough, Brian Moore, you know, brilliant, even James when he comes back, and your brother Kenny as well. Like, who are the people you're kind of preparing with and you know, sparring with in the gym and training with to kind of to prepare for these fights?
Like you said, there's so many guys there. Like, you know what I mean? You even forgot, like, Pedro Carvalho and loads of other lads that could flip a name. You know what I mean? Like Azel. You know, like, I could name a plethora of guys who, you know what I mean, are just perfect to train with. And I train with these guys all the time. Like, do you know what I'm saying? So, just everyone. I always train with everyone. There's never, very rarely would I just be sticking. Actually, you know what? Blaine O'Driscoll used to be a guy where I used to train with the most. He's gone now. So I'm just kind of like, I'm just whoring around with all the guys.
It's a pity Blaine has gone too, isn't it? Yeah. Blaine was such a good fighter, like, and it's a pity he's not fighting anymore, isn't it?
I know, man. It's heartbreaking not having him around, but he's doing good, whatever he's doing. So, you know. Yeah,
he's probably better off.
He's probably better off. Yeah. Because you know what I mean, if I had something else on the side where it was making me a good living, man, this game is just too heartbreaking sometimes. Where it hurts. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
But anyways, we'll move on from that.
100%. Last couple of things, friends. I really appreciate the time. Let's talk about Francesco Nuzzi, because, like, someone asked me the other day in the Q&A, what's the fight going to be like? And I looked up my notes on Francesco, because I obviously did a bit of a preview for the last fight, and I was like, exciting striker, throws a lot of wild kicks, throws a lot of wild stuff. I was like, oh God, this is going to be a fun fight. And then going and watching him again, it's like, oh, this is barn burner written all over. Like, is that kind of what you were preparing for coming in here?
Yeah, no, that's exactly, because obviously, sorry, there's a few Italian lads that know him, but apart from that, like, I seen his fight. I watching, like, I was sitting ringside the whole time. And I seen the way he moves and all that. He's a flipping slick striker, yeah. But he is just the striker, which is fantastic. Do you know what I mean? So we're look, for this fight, we're expecting nothing but a striking war. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't think he has what it takes to deal with my striking. But at the same time, you know, we got to go and see what's what.
What's it like? So I watched a bit of him, and obviously he's a very good counter striker. And you're a guy who likes, you know, you can counter, but you can attack as well. What's it like, I suppose, finding that right balance of, like, maybe not attacking too much, but you also do need to attack, but you don't want to get caught by the counter? Like, that balance, is that something you kind of strike in training and prepare for it? Or is it one of those things you kind of have to do in the fight?
It's a bit of both, like, do you know what I mean? Because that just comes down to distance management. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you need to manage your distance if you're fighting a counter striker, where you can hit them and, you know what I mean, make sure they're not hitting you, type of thing. But that happens in both. Like, I can adapt it. Like, obviously, I haven't fought this guy before, clearly, but I'm used to adapting during the fight. That's why I never look up any of my opponents. That's what I do. But I'm just so confident in my striking skills where I can adapt to any type of striker that comes at me. Like, I've been able to do that so far at a high level. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's no worries there, man. There's no worries there, and that's why I've always said that I always wanted to fight people like Max Holloway and even Sugar Sean, because they are such class strikers that I want to test myself against these kind of guys. You know what I mean? Like, I was sparring Conor for ages. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I kind of know what I'm talking about, sort of.
Is that not a bad lad to prepare for an old southpaw either?
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So I know when I say things like that, like, I want to fight like Sean O'Malley, and people are like, shut up, like, he'd smoke it. Maybe, but at the same time, like, that's the type of they're the type of fighters I want to test myself against. Obviously, what's it called? Holloway is out of bounds now because he's obviously had to going up weights, and I'm kind of lighter really than I was the last few years. So Sugar Sean, it's probably right now be my dream fight. I don't know how we got on that, but yeah, you know yourself.
You'd watch it. Come here. Last thing, Frans. Obviously, if you win the fight coming up, the Dublin card is towards the end of the year, and you've like a real chance of headlining that. And it looks like it's going to be a monster card with all the really good people fighting on the upcoming PFL. How big would that be for you to be, not necessarily even the one headline, but fighting again in that big, massive Dublin card and bringing it home? And like, you know, obviously as I mentioned, your brother is going to be fighting in a few weeks as well, and and the whole team. Like, it must be massive for you to have that after like the tough last few years, to have that in front of you as well here in a few months.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be amazing, you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing, because of the flipping mad year I went through and just everything falling apart, I don't look too far ahead anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just taking it step by step. Obviously, the Dublin thing would be savage, but I'm not thinking too much about that. Right now, we're thinking about Paris and getting through that. And then we'll start thinking about the other thing. I'm taking everything step by step now, you know what I mean? Because I think you set yourself up for flipping hurt when you're looking too far into the future, and I just kind of I've stopped doing that in my wisdom.
Yeah, that is probably a smart thing to do. All right, Frans, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it, and best of luck in your upcoming fight.
It's always a pleasure, my man. I'll catch you.
Lovely.
Peace out.
Thanks, Frans.